Good morning, everyone. I would like to have a look back of the literature on prose and poetry, which I have given you last time. So here's the video for you to please listen to the text I have sent you in the PowerPoints, in the two PowerPoints that it was that I've sent. So here, when you say literature, we all understood, it's in the PowerPoint, that the word literature came from the word Latin word litera, which means letter. And when we say literature, it refers to the writings having excellence of form and expression and expressing ideas of permanent and of universal interest. So what's the learning objectives? What are the learning objectives in this part of the lesson? So at least at the end of this lesson, the student would be able to give comprehensive definition of literature, considering various different definitions given by noted personalities in this field, and considering its functions and explain the different functions of literature using sample selections. Okay, so I have here four popular Filipino authors, and they gave their definition to literatures. First, I have here Jose Arrogante, and he said that literature is a book of life in which a person reveals things related to his inexplicable color of life. Creative methods of a person is a sample manifestation. So, what are your creative expressions? These are your poems, the short stories that you wrote, the novels, and the songs that you create. So all of these things are your creative experiences or creative literatures. We also have Sus Salazar. So he said that literature is a force that motivates a society, a powerful tool that could free one of the rushing ideas of escape. It is also a human experience, and it is definitely an exposition of the social truths and fictional imaginations. It caresses the senses of men, the viewer, the hearing, the viewing, the hearing, the sensation, the taste, and the senses. So basically it affects the senses of a human. And now we have here Patrocinio Villafuerte, one of the famous authors also in Philippine literature. He said that literature is a life of simple words flowing into the human body. Although it is a different entity from the physical human body, but literature flows, the power, the energy of literature flows in the human blood. So therefore, this literature flows in the arteries and veins of every creature. So they have the capacity to create literatures in this sense. And then we have Del Castillo, and Del Castillo has said that literature is an eternally burning flame. So when it's eternally burning flame, it's an overflowing energy, exuding light that renders significance to civilization, and that only dies if the printed word disappears on the face of the earth. So basically, it's so difficult to erase literature because it is intertwined with history. So your literature is composed of your histories, and at the same time, your histories are composed of your literatures. So there are functions of literature. There are 10 different functions of literature, and of course, there are a lot more after this basic function. And number one is the sharing of knowledge. So when there's literature, there's the sharing of knowledge. Why? Because the authors write because they wanted to share their knowledge to other people. Singers sing a song because they wanted to share their emotions and thoughts to other people. Okay, so all of these things are related to the sharing of knowledge. So literature is a tool in sharing human knowledge, human experience. Also, literature shaped the aesthetic taste of a person. Literature helps us to form our vision of beauty. It pleasantly influences us, changing our behavior in the society and attitude towards people in general. How literature helps us to notice every beautiful thing around us. So when once we read a literature, it inspires us. It enlightens our minds. It enlightens our thoughts to on how to look at things. So there's the shaping of the aesthetic side of the human being. Of course, in literature, there exists a developmental thought process. So once you come to read a short story, then the mind starts working. There's a lot of mental activity, and there are a lot of questions in the mind. Once questions start to formulate in the mind when you read a story, or just by asking yourself about the elements in the story, why did the protagonist did this, why did the antagonist did this, and all this, why is such circumstance in the story. So your brain keeps on working as you read your stories. Your brain starts working, so there's development of thought process. Okay, the more we know, the more we have the desire to tell others. So your brain works. The next one is the development of self. So you have read a lot, and you see you develop your aesthetic taste, and then you see the beauty of everything around you once you read your literatures. So all of these things, when put together and internalized within yourself, then you start to also adopting the beautiful literatures that would affect that would give you happy feeling or joyful feeling, and happy thoughts or joyful thoughts. So these joyful thoughts start to start to inflict your feelings, your minds, your thoughts, the way how you speak. So there's the impact of self-development in experiencing literature. Also, literature improves one's upbringing. So when you read a lot of literatures, inspirational stories, beautiful stories that will change someone's life, and similar things to this, then it also uplift your self-esteem, and you wanted to be like those models in your literatures, in your short stories, and you wanted to be the actors in your short stories. So it improves, it develops, uh, it changes or affect the way how you were uh, brought up in or raised in your from your family. So it influences your way of life. And of course, literature, if it affects your senses, then it affects your way of speaking. It shapes your speech. So once you read a lot of literatures, you read a lot of different stories with beautiful thoughts, with beautiful, exuding different beautiful feelings, and good or great moral lesson, then you start to uh, developing yourself to have beautiful words coming from your thought, trying to share to other people beautiful thoughts that you have, and then you begin to develop your way of communicating or speaking to other people. Then there's development in your speech. And then number seven would be transforming the lives, your lives, transforming the lives of the people. So of course, when you when you read the literature that affects your feelings, your thoughts, and you start internalizing all of these things, you see the beauty in everything when you come across with such literature, and you try to internalize the good the good lesson or morals in your short stories. Then you are enlightened, and then you become aware of all these things. Then it starts influencing you. It starts changing you. So it becomes this literature becomes transformers of your lives. So it affects your thoughts, it affects your emotions, and it affects your speech. So therefore, it will really transform your life, and it changes the way how you see things in life. So also literature is being used for communication. When you try to create literatures, then you communicate with others. So authors communicate to their readers using their books. Singers communicate to their audience using their songs and all similar things. And then, of course, with literatures, we come to form uh, entertainment because without these literatures, we cannot come up with comic stage play, or we cannot come up with stories and short stories or novels with a sense of humor. So basically, it is all founded in your these entertainment are all that we produce are all founded or based on uh, literatures with sense of humor or comic literatures. And of course, summing up all of these experiences, then we come to experience with literatures. We come to experience the pleasure. So because when we read books, uh, a lot of people say they travel from one place to another. If you read books about Asian people, then you come to know the cultures and values of the Asian people, and you travel to the different islands of the Asian countries. And basically, you will experience different um, different atmosphere of it, and it gives you a satisfaction. So when you try to read uh, literatures about American people, then you experience how to become an American, how the food in America, the foods in America, the good places in America, the beauty of America, and so with Japan and other countries, Taiwan, China, and European countries also. So when we come to read all of these books, we disclose to ourselves or the cultures of these different nations. And it gives us satisfaction and pleasure because without spending a lot, then we were able to travel from one place to another. And that is because of literature. Okay, so from this discussion, I want you to watch, we have an activity. For every presentation that I'll be sending you, we have one activity and we have one assignment. And there's a reference for that. So here, we have first activity is that I have a question here. Is it important to teach Philippine literature using the English language? And I want you to watch the link manifested in our PowerPoint, in the last part of our PowerPoint. And I also have the complete output should be technically founded in the format that I have given there. It should be 75 to 100 words. And then never mind the paper size because it will be submitted in a soft copy. But I want it to be Arial and size 12. And spacing would be 1.5. And the margin would be 1111. So now, apart from that activity, we also have an assignment. So I also want you to watch the link manifested again in our PowerPoint. And you will have two questions based on those links. Based on that last link that I have sent you, I want you to answer these two questions. How did Clinton Terrell define literature? And number two, how did literature help him endure his solitude and improve his life after? So same way, write this on, it will be submitted on soft copy, and it should be at least 75 to 100 words per question. And then I want you to have it Arial and 12 in size, spacing 1.5 again, and margin is 111. So I will always have a line for a good vibe. It says here, literature is the most agreeable way of ignoring life. So we will come to explain more of this uh, good vibes line before we start our next lesson next meeting. So happy listening and God bless all. I love you all.